So, welcome to my YouTube channel. And of course, always feel free to check out my blog, bankruptcy.blog, easy enough to remember, right? My videos and of course the blog focuses on bankruptcy, but also all economic issues as well. So make sure you look into it. I talk about issues affecting the economy, how these issues could potentially affect you economically. So it's a little bit of everything when it comes to finances and dealing with debt. Now, today, this video focuses specifically on bankruptcy in Delaware. I have to go through this state by state because what's offered in one state is going to be completely different in another state. So in order to make it easy, I didn't want to just explain, well, this is what happens in Florida. No, let's go through all the states so we have a better idea how things work. Now, with that as well, and you'll see here at the description below, you're going to have access. If you click those links, it'll show you all the bankruptcy information, all the court information for Delaware, including contact information for the courts and for the trustee. And I explain again the issues of exemptions that we're going to be discussing today. Now, before you get into this issue of I'm going to file for bankruptcy in Delaware, the first question is, how long have you lived there? Because if you've lived there 2 years, we're okay. You can go ahead and file, and you're going to use the laws of Delaware. Why? Again, bankruptcy is always a little unique. You look at two different states. I'm in Florida. Homestead protection is basically unlimited. But what if you live 2 minutes away from Florida in Georgia? Georgia only protects $21,500 in equity. So why not just jump into Florida and say, hey, I'm here. I moved in yesterday. Let me file for bankruptcy. Because that's exactly what the bankruptcy courts and the bankruptcy code and Congress is avoiding. They don't want people to jump from one state to another to be more protected. For lack of a better term, I've always said the bankruptcy laws are not designed to protect you. They're designed to protect creditors. So if you want to file in Florida because you're in Georgia and you say, I don't like these protections, by all means you can. But you better have been living in Florida for at least 91 days out of the last 6 months. If you have, great, you can file in Florida. The problem, you're still going to use the laws in Georgia, which is the reason why you left Georgia, because you wanted these protections. So that's why you're required to be there 730 days. Now, that's important because let's say you're moving to Delaware or from Delaware, and you know bankruptcy is going to come. You know you're going to do it. The question is, I got to do it. I got to save time. I got to save money. So then I worry about this. But you have to worry about these two figures as well, the 730, 180-day rule, because one state may not favor you or the complete opposite. So, if you're coming from Florida and you have $400,000 that you want to protect, okay, can you protect that amount in your state? If you can't, then you need to file in Florida, but you have to wait for those 2 years. So always do the math, do your research, try to figure out which state is best for me, and then go based on those two numbers. Now, when we're talking about the exemptions are literally just protections. It's the fancy legal term, exempt, non-exempt, basically what's protected, what's not protected. I have been saying this consistently through all my videos and blogs. Research everything. Do not guide yourself by AI. I had yesterday even some client told me, well, that's what AI told me. And I said, well, what do you want me to tell you? I'm the one that went to law school, not AI. And so there is a lot of wrong information out there. Some of the information might be 100% correct, but it's outdated. And the chances of a lawyer updating their blog on something that they wrote 3 years ago on exemptions is unlikely when the state legislature says, let's go ahead and change all these numbers again. So look at blogs, use AI, use mine. I'm up to date because I use software for bankruptcy. So I know I'm 100% correct on this issue, but I'm tired of doing the research and say even state legislatures with their statutes posted on their website are wrong. That's amazing to me. But, whoever's in charge of that, that's the issue. So you got to make sure you have the numbers correctly, because if you put down the wrong exemptions, all of a sudden you might be facing the risk of losing your assets, your car, or your home. So you have to be real careful with that. Always just research, look at tons of information, and you'll see the inconsistencies. And then you really got to start digging deeper to make sure that everything's okay. Now, how exemptions work are simple enough. As you see here in Delaware, your home has $200,000 in equity protected. Applying that to an example here. Let me show you how I got these numbers. 383,000, that is the average value of a home in Delaware. Now, of course, it varies, of course, from city to county, but I just did an average from the state. And here, the 219 number, that's the average loan balance. So when you subtract those two numbers, that's the equity amount that you're going to have. So when you subtract the 219 from the 383, you see the number that I have here, 163, I'm sorry. So I have $163,517 in equity. Am I protected or not? Well, what's the exemption? 200,000. So basically it's protected. You still got a ways to go before you get to $200,000. So in that example, the house is protected. There's no issues there. Then it's just a matter of trying to figure out what other exemptions may protect all your other assets. Now, to be clear, another unique situation about bankruptcy is some states allow you to use the federal exemptions. In the bankruptcy code, they wrote into the code, states, you do what you want. You can use our exemptions or you can use your own. You can use a combination of both. We don't care. The overwhelming majority of states use their own state exemptions. So keep that in mind. You're not going to be using federal exemptions. But this goes back to the issue, are you relocating? If you are, does that state allow federal exemption? If they do, then we're back in the same position. Which one is better for you? And then file based on that time frame. Now, exemptions are not only going to be your house, it's going to be basically all your assets. Certain things are protected automatically, right? The 401k, 401k. Did I say that correctly? I usually say 410. And then also with the IRA. So, what about everything else? Well, cars, $25,000 exemption. So that's great. You probably won't even need it. Realistically, most cars lose. If there's a car loan, there's a balance on the car loan. Maybe if you're at the end, there's equity, of course. But realistically, in the first couple of years, that car has no equity. So even though it's 25,000, you probably won't need it. But hey, great way to protect your car, right? We need our car as much as anything else. Now, this one's important for me just personally. It's sad when I've had clients who, at a certain age and for years, maybe even their spouse passed away, and now they're saying they're asking me, the trustee really wants my cemetery plot next to my husband who died 5 years ago. The answer is yeah. They get it, they sell it, someone's going to buy it, and what they do is they just sell it on auction. Sometimes they list it on their websites, and as a matter of fact, if you ever want a good deal, look for trustee websites. They usually have everything posted there before it goes to auction. But it's not protected. So what are you going to do in Florida? As much as we offer unlimited homestead protection, this is just considered real estate. It's personal property. It's not protected until you have people who have been paying this for 10, 15 years. Then they file for bankruptcy and find out they're going to lose it. So it's sad. So it's great to see when I wish every state would do this, which is fully protected. Why not do this? I mean, I just doesn't make any sense to me because if the person's older and there's no funds in the family to pay for the burial, who's going to pay for it? The county or the state. So it doesn't make sense. It could be something that down the road someone has to pay. So I wish Florida would at least do that, but at least we're here protected in the state of Delaware. Now, let me explain what a wild card is. A lot of states have wild cards. Florida is one as an example. What that means varies from one state to another. In Florida, the wild card is if you own a home versus you don't own a home, they increase the amount of protection. So, for example, personal property is protected $1,000 if you own a home. But if you don't own a home and you're a renter, then it increases to $4,000. So a little bit of protection. Delaware has the same thing where they offer a wild card and you can apply that to different parts of, whatever assets you have that maybe are not fully protected. This wild card is a way to step in and say, let me apply the wild card to whatever else you have. Now, one thing that is interesting, and Florida definitely doesn't have that, is what we call the tools of the trade. Tools of the trade vary, but basically, what's your trade? What do you do for a living? Depending on what you do for a living, your assets will be protected up to $25,000. Now, as a lawyer, I could tell you we're basically protected, right? What do lawyers have? We don't really have anything of value unless we own the building or whatever cash is in a bank account. Our computers and furniture loses value in a hurry. But I like the example of either dentists or especially landscapers. Landscapers spend a fortune on that equipment. I mean, $25,000, $10,000 alone goes out the door with a sit-down mower. If you're in the business, there's an example how you're protected up to $25,000. And very clear, let's say you are a landscaper and you have the sit down mower, even though you paid $10,000 for it, it's not worth $10,000 the day you file for bankruptcy. Everything is based on fair market value. So I like to tell clients, well, you did a garage sale tomorrow. How much you posting that for sale? Or you go on Craigslist, how much you're going to list your sit down lawnmower? That's a reasonable price. So fair market value / garage sale value is what you're going to list this. So you look at it, $25,000 will most likely protect a landscaper. You go to other states like mine, you're not protected at all. Now, the strange thing that I found about this, and I was like, what's their problem with Newcastle and Sussex County? For whatever reason, the tools of the trade are much lower in those two counties, to the point that, come on, this is not even much of a protection here. That is honestly the first time I see that, where a county is treated differently. There are some states where there is a difference when it comes for the means test, and if you're new to the bankruptcy, you're still trying to figure out the means test is basically when the court looks at the last 6 months of income to determine whether you qualify for Chapter 7. You can look that up on my blog. I discuss the means test. There's videos as well. So you go to some states like California, the means test figures are going to be different in different parts of the state because just the income is so different. So imagine you live in Los Angeles, and what's the median income there? It's enormous. So that's why they change it from one part to another. I don't think I've seen that yet anywhere else, but then this is definitely unique. We're going to charge you, we're only going to give you $150 protection on tools of the trade if you live in these two counties. Everywhere else, we're going to give you $25,000. Hey, doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what to tell you, but blame your state legislature for that one. All right. So thank you for joining me. This is it for the exemptions. You can get more details. I just wanted to give you a quick breakdown on how exemptions work so you can make sure whether you're protected. And I'm also concerned not only about the general protections, but this too. We live in a mobile society. So people picking up and leaving and going from one state to another is very common. But you have to look at these two dates and say, which one's best for me? At the end of the day, that's the decision you have to go with. Now, whether it's paralegals or legal study students that have been following me on my videos. Likewise, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to join in. You can I have an entire series as of today, as I've published, I think 23 of the chapters on my text of summary reviews with videos. So you can always feel free to, try to use all this other material to kind of help compensate and fill in any gaps that you have. Any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comment section below. Thank you, and I hope you're enjoying my videos and my blog.